Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are tuning into Esports World Cup Central broadcast from. Our next interview is coming up momentarily. Before I dive into my conversation, I did promise an update for the PUBG Finals Day 1. Let's take a look at the standings as they have concluded, I believe, 4 or 5 maps. I can confirm that number for you in just a second. But Sonics, TSM, Guangdong Freaks at 47 points apiece. Then a 6-point drop-off, and then another 6-point drop-off. The top 5 are currently miles ahead of day trading and, of course, the rest of the pack. We'll dive into that with Blank just a little bit later and talk about the performances of each of the respective teams. Before that, though, this is a very special interview for me. This is a personal friend, somebody who I've known for more years than maybe I would have liked. A young man that actually attended my wedding, quite frankly, and it's been amazing to actually reconnect here in Saudi Arabia at the Esports World Cup. It is Remer Rietkerk, the head of competitive for Rensport, also known as ESL R1. As I've asked all of my guests, how did I do on pronouncing your name?
Very South African.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Remer Rietkerk would be the more Dutch pronunciation, but they're cousins, so it's fine. All good.
There's a lot of Dutch production team downstairs, and we had like Wesley Schneider on here chatting.
Wow.
I had to chat a little bit. I've been trying to do some Afrikaans, and I'm murdering the team. Okay, Remer, I want to be professional, so.
Okay.
Tell me, what is head of competitive? What do you do? Can you explain to us, what your role is?
Sure. So yeah, Rensport is sort of in a fun place because it's in a sort of scale-up place. We're still developing the game, right? And it's our first product. So while my title is head of competitive, my other title is also head of strategy, and what I do is a little bit of everything. So part of that is going to be around getting the game into a place where it's, competition worthy, and working on development and getting feedback from the drivers to input in the game development, working with you guys and EFG on organizing tournaments. So it's a little bit of everything on that side, and then also a little bit looking at the, the whole publishing side of the business as well.
Now, one thing I will say just very loosely, you said developing the game.
Yes.
Now, I know that you're a gamer. I know we've talked about this. You've worked across other titles.
Yep.
We both worked together many moons ago at Riot. Is it a game or is it a simulation? I'm having a debate with my content team. I just want a clear answer here from the head of competitive and the head of strategy, because Porsche, Kawanda say it's a simulation.
So our take where we want to be is we want it to be a platform. But
okay, third dimension.
A platform for motorsport in general. But at the moment we're developing, let's say, both the game and the simulation.
Okay.
These are posed as
Yes.
diametrically opposed, positioned as diametrically opposed. But I think both are valid interpretations. There needs to be simulation for the hardcore drivers, but there needs to be fun game aspects for the average gamer. That's how you reach a big audience, and that's how you really make a meaningful racing product.
I love that so much, and I personally think the argument is actually moot, because if you play a game like Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, if you play PUBG, you are simulating weapons, but
Correct.
playing them as a game. They're the same thing. It just depends on the lens that you look through them. Let's talk about Rensport, of course. I haven't watched motorsport since I was a child.
Sure.
Growing up in the 90s, watched a lot of Formula One, a lot of superbikes, so my knowledge is dated. But seeing the game in action, and particularly seeing the broadcast, it's the closest thing to traditional motorsports that I have seen, which shocked me a little bit. I had to learn and research for this event. What's it like seeing the development? Because you are a viewer of traditional esports coverage.
Sure.
And now you're watching this one develop and blossom and grow.
Yeah, no, it's been a really fun and interesting journey, I would say. The team was a little crazy in deciding to start a esports competition on an alpha build, which is, a little wild out there when we first started. But the game's come a long way, and it's been really fun to kind of watch the audience grow, but also watch the the player base grow,
Yeah.
and just sort of see this development. So we're in year 2 now of all of this, which has been really exciting. It's the second time in Riyadh, which is also awesome.
Yeah.
So all of it's been really exciting to just see kind of come forward and develop, and as you say, blossom.
I want to ask you something else that's quite exciting. I'm going to bring up the team championship group standings.
Sure.
And the thing that I want to ask you, knowing both personally and professionally, when I look at this list and I see Team Redline back from Max Verstappen, Porsche, Kawanda on there, Williams on there, right? And then I see that flanked by G2, Falcons, FaZe Clan.
Mm-hmm.
I personally could not be happier.
Yeah.
The fact that those merging of universes and worlds, how is it for you from a more corporate, more professional perspective, behind the game.
Well, so the slight secret there is this is not an accident, let's say. We always wanted to cultivate a space where you have that merging of games and real-world motorsport. And so when we looked at partners and we looked at who's going to bring kind of things to our ecosystem, it was really about having that diversity and having literally this experience when you look at the standings that you're describing.
Yeah, and the one thing I love as well, by the way, so obviously from the group stage, FaZe Clan and Virtus.pro have been eliminated, but from the two groups of teams remaining, it literally is split. Williams, VS Competition, and Apex are on one group, and then we have Falcons, Mouse, and G2 in the other. It's almost like traditional racing on one side, traditional esports on the other. For me, and you'll know this, like just I relish it. It's brought me so much joy seeing these different things, and only one from each can survive, obviously, Advanced.
Yeah.
We actually have a live race. I think we can do a look in.
Sure.
I'm not expecting you to commentate this with me, though. That would be banger content. I have to reserve that for the rest of my crew. I just love for you to talk to me about the aspect of the race, the aspect of watching it, seeing it here, and for me personally, I'm just gonna say thank you. It's a pleasure to get to work on your game, at least in some small capacity.
A little bit here and there.
So what do you feel when you see this, Remer?
No, it's awesome, and honestly, this has also been some of the best racing we've had like ever. So if you watch the races, you've seen unbelievable battles between like for multiple positions. I think I'm forgetting which race, but yesterday there was one where we had basically like half the race was a battle for third position between 3 cars. So really exciting stuff that's happening. It's also great seeing the game come along. So in our first season, we only had 4 tracks. We've added multiple others, and they look incredible. So I think we're on Fuji now, but I don't want to be wrong.
Where are we now? Are we on Fuji? Yes, we got a thumbs up from my R1 expert.
Perfect. Okay.
Well done.
And,
I'll say this, by the way, for somebody who's head of competitive / head of strategy and stuff, to actually know the game is more rare than you viewers would understand. Just trust me on that one.
You're not wrong.
Okay, let's talk about the future now, obviously.
Sure.
I mean, look, I can completely get behind it, and this, oh man, look at that.
Oh.
I can completely understand and get behind the premise of this, right?
Sure.
It is a realistic, physics-based racing simulator that this is going to be targeting diehards. I mean, you've got to be a petrol head. You've really got to be into motorsport. You've really got to appreciate this, and it's going to scratch that itch that a Gran Turismo or a Need for Speed just isn't going to, right?
Sure.
They're a lot more like arcadey. How do people get their hands on it? How do they practice? How would you love to see the next year or two blossom, as we've said a few times?
This is a very broad question, so I'm gonna try not to take the rest of the conversation answering it. But so I guess I have a few thoughts on this. So definitely agree that it is a hardcore simulation. That's our core audience. But we believe there's a lot of opportunity to bring people back into racing. So racing used to be, I think, 25% of the gaming genre 20, 30 years ago, and I think there's an opportunity here to both really service that core audience, but also bring people back. So we've, for example, recently added gamepad support that is pretty decent. I mean, it's not the same as driving in a rig.
I mean, when a game is designed to be in a rig,
Right.
at its core, you kind of have to make some concessions, right?
Absolutely, but it is. I've had feedback from multiple people that the gamepad experience is pretty fun. So there's 8 ways to start and get in, and then there's a natural progression, right? So once people start to get involved in the space and excited and passionate about the space, there's a natural progression in developing your sim rigs. I know a lot of people who start with like a basic Logitech one, and eventually they've got a 10,000 euro setup.
My own expert, who's been on R1 broadcast for 4 years, doesn't even have his own rig. I am so disappointed in him, and he's listening right now. Yes, I'm judging you harshly, but I do think it is one of those things. Again, like you said, the natural progression. Like I have a Logitech driving stick at home. That's what I use. I don't even play racing games. Look, I think it is super exciting. Remer, I think one of the big things that I would just love to take away from this is like seeing this next EWC, seeing it at an event like this, and crucially, you'll know from me and my love, like next to Counter-Strike, next to League of Legends, next to Apex. Is that crucially important? Is that a nice to have? Or is this where R1 belongs?
I mean, of course R1 belongs here, but it's great. It's really cool to be in the gaming space. I think there's opportunities for us to also be in the motorsport space, but this is the center, the highlight of our season. This is the most important moment of our season, and we're looking to keep it that way going forward.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I've got one more question for you before I give you the opportunity to give a shout out to fans, to viewers, to anybody on your behalf. There was some fantastic coverage about Max Verstappen, and I think the headline that I read was like, Max Verstappen is a degenerate gamer. First of all, I fell in love with him even more, okay? How do you reflect on that coverage? Is this positive or is this scandalous?
I would never slander my fellow Dutchman, so I think for me it's quite clear this is nothing but positive.
Also, the fact that he's playing these games and winning and racing, obviously it's just going to be good to promote the sport.
And to add, his team Redline is doing great in the competition so far. So
That's exactly what I was looking for. Remer, it is such a pleasure. You are looking very, very good. We are close personal friends. We've known each other for a long time. I'm going to do something that I don't think I've ever asked you to do, but you have asked me to do in the past. We've got an exclusive piece of merch that we get all of our guests to sign.
Sure.
And I'm not going to be giving you an autograph. You need to give me one.
I think this can be arranged.
This can be arranged. We're going to ask you to sign this on the way out. Just before
amazing.
we do, camera number one, send a message, whatever you want to share from the heart.
Sure. I mean, I guess I'll do a shout out. First, my producer Mikkel asked me to shout him out, and I want to mention he yelled at me for not ironing this shirt, so fair
It
point.
looks good. No,
Okay.
you've got that like summer beach vibe.
Perfect.
He's wrong.
All right, good. Also, the team from Rensport that's here and the entire EFG team working on the project, and most importantly, obviously, our fans and drivers. I mean, none of this is possible without them, so we love to have them on board, and we hope to have more of you join.
Oh, thank you so much. Where can we get the game?
Epic Store, it's open beta, free, so jump on in and try it out.
You know, the worst part is I actually started this interview by going, can we make sure we do this? And I almost forgot.
I also almost forgot.
But I got you. Okay, we do it that way. And you've heard it here from the it's a game. That's the official stance. That's what he said.
A platform.
That
A
is-
platform
it's
for
game.
simulation
He
and
called it a
game.
We're heading over to Blank. He's going to be introing PUBG, I believe. So catch me up. What have we been missing, Blank?
Well, honestly, what we have missed is a whole day of PUBG, sadly. But the interviews have been pretty fire so far. But if we